Should you buy a home or should you rent? It's a great question. Hey everyone, it's David Tully. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over some of the top reasons on why you should buy or you should rent a home. I'm going to give you the pros and the cons and break it down so you can make the best decision for yourself and for your family. And if you enjoy this type of content, please make sure to like button and subscribe. And if you have any questions at all, just reach out to me directly or leave them down in the comments below. And if you're thinking about moving or relocating to the Reno or Sparks area and you need to purchase a home and you need some help, just reach out. I would be happy to take great care of you. All right, let's start it off with the pros of owning a home. I would say one of the biggest pros to owning a home is your payment is going to stay the same, which can't be said about renting. And when I say this, I mean the principal and interest payment. This is also going to mean you're going to have a fixed rate mortgage, and not an adjustable rate. And another thing is some people might say, okay, well, that's actually not true. My payment does fluctuate every year or two. And that will be because if you have a loan on the property, your mortgage lender will take out money for taxes and insurance. So if your payment fluctuates, for a year or two from now, it's gonna be because your taxes either go up or down, typically up, and your insurance goes up. So that is why your monthly payment will fluctuate. But your principal and interest will stay the same, which is huge. Another great reason to buy a home is it's a great investment. When you're renting, you're constantly paying somebody else's mortgage and that money will never see a return. You're gonna be paying somebody else's mortgage forever. With the current real estate market, we've been seeing appreciation of 15 to 20% a year, which you can't even get in the stock market. So, just to think that it's a great investment is just only one of the benefits. Another thing you want to think about is, 15 to 20% appreciation is not sustainable. And, we're definitely seeing the market slowing a little bit, although, there's still very limited inventory. So it's still very much a seller's market, but I do see that, appreciation will fall into the single digits, probably in the next year or two. Another thing is, it gives you a great sense of stability and pride in ownership. If you want to paint your walls pink, for your daughter's bedroom or purple, you can do that without asking anyone. With renting, you have to ask the landlord or the property manager for permission to do something to the house, whether it's in the interior or exterior. Another great benefit is tax benefits, mortgage write-offs. There's so many amazing benefits to owning a home. All right, let's talk about the cons of owning a home. And although I think the pros far outweigh the cons of owning a home, there are some significant cons to think about. And the first one that comes to mind is higher upfront costs. And what I mean with this is your down payment and your closing costs, which on the lower end, you could expect about 5 to 7% of the purchase price, which would include both your down payment and your closing costs, which I understand can be a significant amount of money. And also, if you're thinking about buying a brand new home, there are other costs as well. You have to think about backyard landscaping, which could cost you anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. When using a landscape contractor, window coverings, appliances like the washer, dryer, and the fridge. Those are some significant costs when buying a new home. So, like I said, while I think the pros outweigh the cons, these are some pretty big cons you want to think about. Next up is repairs. This is one of the biggest cons as well. You have to factor in that you could have plumbing or electrical issues down the road, or possibly even water leaks, roof leaks, potential roof replacement, and even HVAC repairs or HVAC replacement, which would include your AC and your furnace. And obviously, if you buy a newer home, you're not gonna have to worry about repairs as often, but keep in mind, they certainly happen and they do come up. So I always recommend putting money away for any potential issues with your job. Maybe you get laid off, or housing repairs typically come at unexpected times, just like car issues. So keep that in mind. Another thing to think about is if you move a lot, or you like to move around a lot for work, or you just like being in different places, buying a home might not be the best for you because there are significant costs when selling a house. So possibly renting might be better for you. Another thing with owning a home is you have to pay the HOA dues, sewer fees, trash fees, property taxes. These are all sorts of other fees that you don't typically have to pay for when you rent. Another big con to owning a home right now is if you're trying to buy a home, is that you are looking at COVID pricing, which is significantly higher than just a year and 2 years ago. And it's still a fairly competitive market. Even though the market is cooling just a little, it is still very much a seller's market. All right, here's some great benefits to renting. The first one is they are significantly less upfront costs when compared to purchasing a home. You know, when you're renting a home or an apartment, all you typically have to think about is the first month's rent and, you know, any prorated days depending on when you move in, and the security deposit. This is significantly less than a down payment and closing costs for a house. Another huge pro to renting is that you don't have to deal with repairs or maintenance. So if you really hate dealing with repairs or mowing the lawn or doing things like that, you typically don't have to do those things. You know, if you're renting a house, I will say that if you have a lawn, in most lease agreements, you still have to maintain the lawn. So whether you mow it or if you have somebody else do it, there is that. But overall, some of the big repairs that, you know, come up, like the HVAC repairs, plumbing or electrical issues, you just call the landlord or the property manager and they take care of it, which is extremely nice. Another huge benefit to renting is if you move around a lot for work, or if you like being in different cities, renting might be great for you because you're only locked into a 6 to 12 month contract. And a lot of the times they'll let you out if they can find another renter, or, you know, if you don't mind throwing away a few months rent, you can move to that next city without any huge obligations. All right, next up are the cons to renting a property. There are some significant cons. The first one is your rent payment is most likely going up. I'm not gonna lie to you. In the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years, the rent payments in Reno Sparks have gone up significantly. And the current housing market is increasing and there are not a lot of rentals available. And they're currently building a ton of apartment buildings. So you can expect that your rent will typically go up every year or two. That's not gonna happen if you own a home. So that is a significant con. Another big con to renting a property is if you wanna change something on the property. You wanna paint the rooms or change some fixtures or put in a new sink. You know, you really need approval from your landlord or property manager before you do those things. Another huge con is equity. You're not building any equity when you're renting. You're paying down somebody else's mortgage. So, you know, say you rent for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. At the end of that lease, you have nothing to show for it. And you have to move on to the next property and start another lease, which is a huge downside. You know, you're missing out on the 15 to 20% appreciation on homes that we're having lately. So those are some significant cons to renting. The last thing that also is a pretty big con, I would say, is if you like dogs or cats and you have pets, it's a lot harder to find a rental, whether it's an apartment or a home. And if you can find one, they're typically gonna charge you a pet deposit, which could be anywhere from $250 to $500 for a pet deposit. So those are just some things to think about when you're renting a property. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. Today I went over some of the pros and the cons to buying and renting a home. And if you have any questions about any of the items I touched on, just reach out to me directly or leave your question down in the comments below. And if you're thinking about moving or relocating to the Reno or Sparks area and you need help buying a home, just reach out. I would be happy to take great care of you. I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.